You see cars, watches, opening doors, and assume wealth begins there. But those are the final frames of stories that started somewhere completely different. Tonight, ignore what rich people bought. Study what they owned. At 11, Buffett put saved money into 3 shares, not a status symbol. The first purchase looked tiny. Time made the decision enormous. His fortune did not grow because he worked more hours than everyone else. It grew because ownership kept producing value after each working day ended. Jeff Bezos later wrote the plain truth. His Amazon shares made him wealthy. Not the founder title, not the salary, the ownership. A paycheck rewards yesterday's work. A share can participate in tomorrow's growth. Sarah Blakely started Spanx with $5,000 and no outside funding. The bigger move was turning those savings into a product she owned. She could have spent those savings. Instead, she bought a chance at ownership. Then there was Ronald Read, a gas station worker and janitor with ordinary wages. He looked ordinary because he bought companies instead of appearances. Over decades, patient ownership helped build an estate worth nearly $8 million. The quiet choices eventually became buildings, books, treatment rooms, and lives changed. Different personalities, different industries, different incomes. Yet the same hidden engine. They repeatedly converted available money into something that could grow without permission. Objects stayed visible. Ownership stayed hidden. People copied the wrong part. You learn earning, spending, borrowing, upgrading, but rarely ownership. And right then, your own test arrives. $3,000, unexpected, exciting, and powerful enough to disappear this weekend. For months, you have pictured that watch proving you finally made it. By midnight, you will either buy the image or begin buying the future. The store smells expensive, and suddenly your bonus already feels spent. It fits perfectly. That is what temptation always tries to do. You are buying 5 seconds of attention, not time. The number leaves enough for rent, but almost nothing for surprise. Your hand hesitates because walking away feels like admitting you are not successful. So you make a deal with yourself, 1 hour, then a final decision. The mark disappears in minutes. The payment would stay for months. Everywhere, someone is selling the feeling of ownership without the patience ownership requires. You return where the bonus was earned, searching for an answer. The question is not whether you deserve something nice. You do. Why does every raise quietly become a more expensive yesterday? You earn more than 3 years ago, yet somehow feel equally trapped. Income rose, lifestyle followed, ownership never entered the room. That is the cycle nobody warns you about because it looks completely normal. You earn money, then hand it to owners whose systems collect it. Wealth asks, what can I own? Before, what can I buy? Every light below is someone earning, spending, renting, selling, or owning. Your friend says, you only live once. Your bank balance hears something else. Saying no feels small until you know what the no is protecting. You need a rule strong enough to survive excitement, pressure, and bad days. So you go looking for the rule school never gave you. Most advice separates these subjects, even though your life mixes them every payday. Behind the loud promises, you find a book someone clearly used. Inside is one sentence, written by a stranger who learned the expensive way. Before money becomes lifestyle, make it buy ownership. It sounds simple, almost too simple, which is why your brain immediately argues. Does ownership mean starting a company, buying property, or becoming a stock expert? Ownership is anything productive that keeps a claim on future value. It can be diversified shares in businesses you understand and hold patiently. It can be equipment that helps you create work people will pay for. It can be a skill that raises the value of future hours. It can be intellectual property, a product, channel, book, design, or useful system. The common thread is not complexity. It is future options. Your first goal is not looking rich. It is becoming an owner. But a rule is useless until it survives the street outside the book. The first test appears immediately. Scarcity, hype, and strangers proving demand. You call the shoes an investment, but you know better. Status purchases often become performances before they become possessions. Across the street, one ordinary machine earns money for its owner. Ownership is not effortless. It simply lets effort build something you can keep. Sometimes the owner looks poorer than the customer, until time reveals the difference. This rule never excuses neglecting food, rent, health, or loved ones. Needs come first. High-interest debt and emergency protection come before investing fantasies. But after the essentials, every extra dollar receives a job interview. Will this create value, protect options, or briefly impress someone? The watch fails the interview. That does not make it evil. Only early. The rule is about order, not punishment. Own first. Protect second. Enjoy third. The sequence changes everything. You try 50% ownership, 30 safety, 20 enjoyment. Then you choose realism, because repeatable plans beat heroic failures. 20% of extra money buys future options before lifestyle votes. 600 bonus dollars must cross the ownership line first. The hallway is already holding evidence that excitement has a short memory. It promised an upgrade. Now it is clutter with a receipt. The problem is money leaving repeatedly without creating anything behind. Now you track spending and what each dollar makes you own. Every entry explains expected value, risk, and what could go wrong. Ownership is not gambling, guaranteed returns, borrowed money, or chasing whatever doubled yesterday. For market ownership, boring diversification often protects you from needing one perfect prediction. Small fees quietly collect rent from your future for decades. Confidence is not evidence. Verify what fits your country and situation. Real ownership begins with boring checks: regulation, taxes, fees, access, and risk. Cash reserves stop emergencies from forcing badly timed asset sales. A buffer buys time, and time protects ownership. Then the rule meets its first uncomfortable truth: you still carry expensive debt. Paying 20% interest while hoping investments beat it is not a strategy. Ownership starts by removing claims others already hold against your income. You are not falling behind. You are clearing the runway. The ownership money needs 3 destinations, each building a different future. One piece buys broad business ownership, not one perfect prediction. One piece buys a tool that improves work you already sell. One piece will buy a skill clients keep requesting, and you keep postponing. The watch offers one identity tonight. The envelopes offer 3 stronger identities later. 32 minutes remain, and your old story has not surrendered yet. You decide the final choice must be made where temptation is strongest. You return to test whether your decision survives temptation. The version of you in the glass wants recognition immediately. Nobody pressures you. The promise attached to the object does. For a moment, the future disappears, and only this beautiful second exists. $200 could own companies, or part of this watch. 200 could sharpen the work you already know how to sell. 200 could teach work clients currently pay others to do. The answer is yes, which exposes the fake emergency your mind created. Delayed is not denied. It is simply ordered correctly. For the first time, walking out feels more powerful than walking in. The watch is gone from your wrist, but the decision stays. Now the money needs action before emotion invents another destination. You inspect the tool, not the fantasy around it. The image is sharper, but usefulness matters more than excitement. Ownership requires care before purchase, not regret after it. You win by knowing the market, not humiliating the seller. The first envelope becomes a real productive tool. It is still an object, but this one can help create income. Your mind immediately begins seeing work where it used to see only things. You offer a simple video package instead of asking whether they are hiring. Ownership changes your questions, and better questions reveal doors. The second envelope has a deadline that will not wait for confidence. The course teaches a skill your current clients repeatedly request. Buying education is not ownership if you never convert it into ability. So you buy the time commitment first, then the course. The second envelope becomes a skill contract with your future self. 2 decisions down. 1 remains, and it feels less cinematic. Market ownership happens with a quiet screen, which makes mistakes dangerously easy. You slow down because speed is useful for action, not for trust. You are not choosing a magic company. You are choosing broad participation. The value can fall. Nothing is guaranteed. Patience must survive that. Discipline means following the allocation, even when enthusiasm demands a dramatic move. The third envelope becomes tiny ownership in thousands of working people and businesses. Nothing around you changes. That is how many life-changing habits begin. The bonus is now a tool, a skill, and a claim. Temptation shrinks quickly once money has a better destination. Your new scoreboard records what can grow, not what can impress. Every asset needs maintenance. Hold, learn, create, improve, or review. Automation protects the decision from the mood you happen to wake up with. The tool must work, or it is just another expensive object. The skill must be practiced, or it remains entertainment wearing professional clothes. The sentence now becomes part of the room where most spending decisions happen. Environment beats willpower when the decision repeats hundreds of times. A discount wastes money when it creates an unplanned purchase. Even past mistakes can be converted into new ownership capital. The rule starts catching money that used to disappear unnoticed. You stop waiting for a perfect schedule and begin using imperfect minutes. For one night, your money is working in directions you deliberately chose. Then morning brings the part motivational videos usually skip. Repetition. A decision feels powerful. A routine proves whether it was real. Your first owned tool now has to earn trust in a real room. The work looks better, and for 10 minutes confidence feels wonderfully justified. One careless step reveals that tools create responsibility too. The lens survives. The protective filter does not. Your first instinct is embarrassment. Your second is to keep the client calm. Preparation turns a disaster into a delay. The next shot is the best one, because recovery often improves the story. Ownership does not remove work. It gives your work somewhere to accumulate. Their reaction tells you the tool has crossed from purchase into productive asset. One morning returns half the cost, but the bigger return is proof. The lens became valuable only when you used it. Now the skill investment faces its own test. Discomfort. You feel slow, which your ego translates into, maybe this was a mistake. The calendar makes the decision your confidence cannot make tonight. Ownership of skill begins when you risk looking unskilled. The breakthrough arrives quietly, after the room stops watching. It is not impressive yet. It is yours, and tomorrow it can improve. The market portion is down slightly, delivering a different kind of discomfort. Your brain treats a small decline like a personal verdict. The plan existed for this exact moment, before fear rewrote the rules. Sometimes the correct ownership action is deliberately doing nothing. Then a real emergency arrives, uninterested in your new financial philosophy. A broken pipe turns your clean plan into wet floors and urgent numbers. The repair estimate is almost exactly what remains of the bonus. Bad advice says protect investments at any cost, but money built for emergencies should be used for emergencies without shame. The safety bucket absorbs the hit, allowing ownership to survive. Wealth does not remove problems. It reduces forced decisions. The watch could not solve the problem you actually had. The fantasy finally loses its grip. The crisis is over, but your motivation has vanished with your sleep. This is the dangerous day, not the dramatic one, the ordinary exhausted one. When life gets expensive, shrink the habit before you destroy it. You create breathing room without punishing yourself. Small recurring costs matter because they compete with recurring ownership. The first client income is small, but unlike the bonus, it can repeat. The rule applies to side income too, before irregular money becomes invisible money. Enjoyment stays in the plan, because deprivation creates rebellion. A sustainable rule makes room for life while protecting the future first. The tool and skill begin working together, which is where compounding becomes personal. One asset increases the usefulness of another. You add effort to build trust, not work free forever. The referral is future value arriving from work already completed. The second opportunity costs less because the first client carried your name. Your skill is becoming a system instead of a hopeful idea. The work is faster now because yesterday's mistakes became today's preparation. A reusable process lets 1 hour produce more than it produced before. Early leverage means useful work traveling farther than your body. The ledger now measures a life-changing direction, not a perfect month. Real compounding never looks like a clean motivational arrow. 1 month ends without fireworks, yet several parts of your future are stronger. The transfer happens before breakfast, before advertising, before your mood gets involved. Your salary still matters, but it is no longer your only engine. You stop demanding ideal conditions from a future that needs consistent practice. A third referral arrives because your previous work can travel where you cannot. Each increase is small enough to repeat and meaningful enough to matter. The balance reaches zero, releasing income that used to belong to yesterday. The safety layer returns, ready to protect ownership from the next surprise. Some months reward patience. Others test whether patience was ever real. The paper is not the asset. The ability behind it is. The skill matters when it changes what you create and charge. Your voice shakes slightly, but the price reflects work you can now deliver. Income rises again, but this time lifestyle does not automatically chase it. The rule catches raises too, preventing success from quietly becoming a larger cage. You buy access when needed instead of owning every tool before demand exists. Ownership grows when your system creates fair paid work beyond your own hands. Progress still includes losses. The difference is one loss no longer controls everything. A pipeline gives disappointment somewhere productive to go. The replacement is not bigger, but the system keeps moving. Months later, the window still displays the watch that once felt urgent. It still tells time. Your life is finally using time differently. You return to ownership's room, no longer merely observing. The owner admits some months are excellent and others barely cooperate. Ownership means shaping, improving, and benefiting from an uncertain system. A year ago, the bonus was almost a watch. Now it connects everything. The tool paid for itself, then kept producing. Consistency bought through fear and excitement without predicting either. Your biggest raise is the percentage now working for you. Then the same test returns, because good rules must work more than once. You return because you finally have a choice, not something to prove. The watch is still available. The emergency was always imaginary. It looks exactly the same. You do not. Buying it would not touch debt payments, emergency cash, investments, tools, or tuition. The price now represents income created by assets you built after walking away. And strangely, the watch no longer feels like evidence. You could buy it. That freedom matters more than needing to. You spend, but stop asking purchases to define you. The hidden wealth rule was never buy anything. Never let money pass through your life without buying future options first. Own first. Protect second. Enjoy third. Start with 10% if 20 feels impossible. Clear expensive debt and build safety before taking risks you cannot survive. The rule works inside real life, not outside it. Before your next bonus, raise, gift, or side payment, ask one question. What will this money own before it disappears? That answer can change your direction long before it changes your appearance. Ownership feels invisible, just like every fortune while it is still forming. Your first entry need not impress. It only needs to exist. Income creates comfort. Ownership slowly creates freedom. And the next piece of your future begins with the very next dollar.